The stars were silent, watching as the last remnants of humanity fought for survival. Earth was long gone, reduced to ashes by an unstoppable alien force. The universe was now ruled by powerful species who saw humans as weak, insignificant beings. Humanity, scattered and hunted, was believed to be extinct. But one man knew differently. In the cold depths of space, on a remote moon far from the alien patrols, Daniel was on his knees, trembling. His hands gripped a piece of ancient technology he had uncovered in a long-forgotten ruin. A map so old and worn that it seemed to belong to a time before time itself. But it was more than a map. It was the key to Earth's lost history, to something much bigger. And now, Daniel knew what he had to do with it. Daniel wasn't alone. In the shadows of the ruin, a small group of survivors watched him closely. They were a mix of old soldiers, engineers, and scientists, all united by one belief: humanity was not done yet. The map in Daniel's hands could lead them to a powerful artifact, something that had the power to change everything. But the aliens had found out about it too, and they were already coming for it. The survivors knew time was running out. The alien ships, silent and deadly, prowled the galaxy, hunting down any human presence. Daniel had seen the fires of war consume entire planets, and he had learned the hard way that mercy did not exist in the universe. But something about the map, something about the artifact it led to, gave him hope. It was their last hope. He stood up, wiping the dirt from his face. "We can't wait any longer. The aliens will find us soon. We need to move now." The others nodded, but their faces were full of doubt. The road ahead was dangerous, and the artifact was deep within an abandoned station, hidden in the heart of enemy territory. None of them had ever been this close to the alien strongholds before, and the risk was enormous. Yet, there was no turning back. As they made their way across the barren landscape, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. His eyes darted around, scanning the sky for any sign of alien ships. The universe was vast, but it felt impossibly small now. With each step, the air seemed heavier, thicker, as if something was closing in on them. By nightfall, they reached the station. The ruins were eerily silent, the only sound their footsteps echoing in the cold. It was clear that no one had been here for a long time, yet Daniel knew better than to trust appearances. The aliens were masters of camouflage, and the station might still be crawling with their spies. Inside, the walls were covered with strange symbols, alien writings Daniel could not understand. The artifact was supposed to be hidden in the center of the station. As they moved deeper, they found evidence of what had happened here long ago. Humans had once lived in this place, a secret colony hidden from the rest of the galaxy. But the aliens had discovered it, and the humans were wiped out, their legacy lost. They reached a large chamber, its walls glowing faintly in the dim light. At the center of the room, an ancient pedestal stood, and on it lay the artifact, shimmering and powerful. Daniel's heart raced. This was it. The object that could save humanity. But as he stepped forward, a sudden noise echoed from behind them. A soft, mechanical whirring. Daniel spun around, his hand reaching for his weapon. It was too late. The alien soldiers had already surrounded them. Their black armor blended with the shadows, their eyes glowing coldly beneath their helmets. "We knew you would come for it," one of the aliens said, its voice deep and mechanical. "This artifact is not for you. You should have stayed hidden." Daniel's pulse quickened. He had seen the destruction the aliens were capable of, and now they were cornered. His team was outnumbered, and the odds were against them. But there was no turning back. He stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear. "We didn't come here to ask permission. We came to take back what's ours." The alien soldiers raised their weapons, and in that moment, everything seemed to slow down. Daniel felt the weight of the map in his pocket, the weight of humanity's survival on his shoulders. He glanced at his team, and in their eyes, he saw the same fire, the same belief that this was their last chance. With a sudden, deafening crash, the doors of the chamber exploded open. A new wave of attackers surged in. But these weren't aliens, they were humans, survivors from other colonies. They had come to fight, to take back what was theirs. The battle for humanity's future had begun. Amidst the chaos, Daniel grabbed the artifact and held it high. The aliens hesitated, and for a brief moment, it was a hum of energy, a promise of things to come. The universe was not lost yet. As the battle raged around him, Daniel knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity's last hope had not been extinguished. It had just begun to rise. Absolutely. Here is an engaging and suspenseful story titled The Hidden Weapon, written in third-person style with simple, basic English, designed to maintain suspense and keep readers hooked. The hidden weapon. The universe had been at war for as long as anyone could remember. Alien empires fought each other for control, and humanity was nothing more than a fleeting memory, lost in the pages of history. After Earth fell to the alien invaders, the last humans had scattered across the galaxy, hiding in distant corners of space. But one human survivor, a soldier named Ethan, had learned of something that could change everything, a weapon so powerful that whoever controlled it would control the fate of the universe. Ethan had spent years tracking down clues, piecing together fragments of old maps and forgotten legends. All the signs pointed to a single place, an abandoned world on the edge of the galaxy. A planet that, according to ancient texts, had once been a secret base for humanity's most advanced military forces. And buried deep within that planet's surface was the weapon, the key to winning the war. But Ethan wasn't the only one looking for it. He and his small team of survivors landed on the planet's surface under the cover of night, careful to avoid detection by the alien forces who had begun to patrol the area. The air was thick and heavy with silence, and the land was barren, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Ethan felt uneasy, but he didn't have time for doubts. The weapon was here, somewhere. And if they didn't find it before the aliens did, humanity's last hope would be lost forever. They moved quickly, following the coordinates hidden within the old texts. The landscape was rocky and desolate, with jagged mountains in the distance and deep ravines cutting through the land. It was a place forgotten by time, a place where no one had dared to tread in centuries. As they descended into the planet's vast network of caves, the air grew colder, and the feeling of being watched became impossible to ignore. Ethan's hand never strayed far from his weapon, his eyes darting around every corner, every shadow. The deeper they went, the more the silence seemed to close in on them, thick and suffocating. After what felt like hours, they reached an underground chamber. The walls were covered with strange symbols, marking the entrance to what appeared to be an old military base. Ethan's heart pounded as he stepped inside, the door sliding open with a loud hiss. The darkness inside was almost complete, but the faint glow of emergency lights flickered from deep within. "There's something here," Ethan whispered, his voice echoing in the vast room. They moved cautiously, searching the shadows for any sign of the weapon. The air felt charged, as though something was just waiting to be discovered. And then, there it was, a pedestal in the center of the room, ancient but unmistakable. Resting on it was a small, metallic box. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. This was it, the weapon that could save humanity. He stepped forward, reaching out to touch it, but before he could lay his hands on the box, a loud crash echoed through the cave. The ground shook violently, and the walls cracked as if the very planet itself was protesting. "Move!" Ethan shouted, grabbing the box and throwing it into a secure bag. "We have to get out of here." The team rushed toward the exit, but the tunnel seemed to shift, changing as if the base itself was alive. Strange, mechanical noises echoed around them, and shadowy figures appeared from the darkness. Alien soldiers! They had been waiting for them. Ethan raised his weapon, firing at the advancing aliens, but there were too many of them. They'd been expecting a team of humans to find the weapon. The fight was chaotic, with blasts of energy lighting up the dark hallways. His team fought fiercely, but the aliens kept coming. Each step they took was a struggle, each moment filled with danger. Ethan and his team pushed forward, determined to escape with the weapon, but the aliens had anticipated their every move. A sudden explosion sent them all flying across the room, slamming into the cold stone floor. Ethan's vision blurred, but he managed to regain his footing. His heart raced, knowing they were running out of time. The aliens were getting closer, and they had no way of knowing what kind of weapon they were up against. "Ethan!" One of his team members shouted. "We have to move faster." With no other choice, Ethan grabbed the box and ran toward a narrow tunnel they had passed earlier. The walls shook again, and the base seemed to collapse around them. The further they ran, the more they felt the ground beneath them tremble. It wasn't just the weapon that was dangerous, it was the planet itself. Finally, they reached the surface. The sky above them was dark, and a distant ship hovered overhead. They had to move fast, but as they neared their ship, a familiar voice echoed across the field. "You're not going anywhere." It was a group of aliens, led by one who had followed them since they landed. Their eyes gleamed with malice as they raised their weapons. Ethan held up the box. "You won't stop us. This weapon will change everything." The leader of the aliens laughed. "You have no idea what you've unleashed." Ethan's heart sank. The alien leader was right. The weapon wasn't just a tool for war. It was something far more powerful, a force that could reshape the entire universe. But there was no turning back now. Ethan knew the risk, and he knew that the only way to stop the aliens was to take the weapon to its final destination. If they could survive long enough to make it there, humanity might still have a chance. With a final look at the approaching alien forces, Ethan made his decision. He turned and ran, the weapon in his hands, his team following closely behind. The fight for humanity's future had just begun. The sky above the planet Toralis was dark, the stars distant and cold, like silent witnesses to the events unfolding below. On the surface, in the shadow of forgotten ruins, a lone figure moved through the quiet landscape. His name was Jackson, and he was searching for something that had been lost for centuries, the key to humanity's rebirth. After the fall of Earth, the last remnants of humanity had scattered to distant worlds. But over the years, they had lost their way. Memories of their home planet faded, and the once great human race became little more than myths to the civilizations of the galaxy. Yet Jackson had always believed there was more to the story. He had spent years following fragments of ancient texts and rumors about a forgotten secret, a weapon, an artifact, or perhaps a hidden knowledge that could bring humanity back to its former glory. And now, after years of searching, he had found the place. Toralis, a planet that had once been home to a thriving human colony, now lay in ruin. Its cities had crumbled, its people vanished, as if they had never existed. But deep beneath the surface, in the heart of the planet, Jackson was sure he would find what he was looking for. The ground beneath him was cracked, the air thick with the weight of history. It had been centuries since anyone had stepped foot here, and the silence was unsettling. As he moved deeper into the ruins, the feeling of being watched intensified. It wasn't just the eerie stillness, it was something more. Something was waiting for him, hidden beneath the surface, and Jackson knew that whatever it was, it could change everything. He found the entrance to an ancient underground facility, half buried in the earth. The door was old, covered in strange symbols, but still intact. Jackson's heart raced as he pushed against it, and with a creak, it slowly opened. A chill ran down his spine as he stepped inside, the air stale and thick with dust. The faint glow of emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows on the walls. The facility was silent, but it felt alive. Jackson could almost hear the whispers of the past, as if the walls themselves were trying to tell him something. He moved through the long hallways, past rooms that had once been filled with life and activity. Now, they were nothing but empty shells, forgotten by time. Finally, he reached the central chamber. It was massive, filled with rows of strange machines and consoles that hummed softly, their power still faintly active. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and on it, a glowing orb pulsed with a soft golden light. Jackson's breath caught in his throat. This was it, the artifact he'd been searching for. It was small, but its presence was overwhelming, as though it held the very power to reshape the future. His hands trembled as he approached the pedestal, but before he could touch the orb, the sound of footsteps echoed from behind him. A voice rang out, cold and commanding. "Step away from the artifact." Jackson spun around, heart racing. Standing in the doorway was a group of strangers, aliens, their bodies cloaked in black armor, their eyes hidden beneath helmets. They were not just any aliens. They were the Vorties, a ruthless species that had been hunting humanity for centuries, determined to erase all traces of Earth's legacy. "You're too late," one of them sneered, his voice robotic and harsh. "The artifact belongs to us now." Jackson's hand moved to the weapon at his side, but he knew it wouldn't be enough. He was outnumbered, and the Vorties were too powerful. The artifact, whatever it was far too important to fall into their hands. He had to think quickly. "Why do you want it?" Jackson demanded. "What is it?" The alien leader laughed, a low, menacing sound. "You think you understand, human? This artifact is not just a weapon. It is the key to unlocking the power of the Forgotten Dawn, the rise of the ancient civilizations that once ruled the galaxy. Humanity was never meant to survive. You were a mistake." Jackson's mind raced. The Forgotten Dawn. He had heard the term before, in fragments of stories passed down through generations. It was said to be the beginning of everything, the rise of an ancient empire, the first spark of civilization in the galaxy. And now it seemed that the Vorties were preparing to unlock its power. He had to stop them. Before the Vorties could react, Jackson lunged for the orb, grabbing it from the pedestal. The moment his fingers touched the glowing surface, a shock of energy surged through his body. Pain. Light. And then, everything went dark. When Jackson awoke, he was lying on the cold floor of the chamber. The Vorties were gone, and the orb was silent in his hand. His head throbbed with the force of the energy that had flowed through him. He didn't understand what had happened, but one thing was clear: he had activated something ancient. Something powerful. The silence returned, but it was different now. The weight of the universe seemed to shift. Jackson knew that he had unleashed something far greater than he'd imagined. The artifact wasn't just a weapon, it was a doorway, a key to something beyond his comprehension. Ase rose to his feet. Jackson knew his journey was far from over. The Forgotten Dawn had been awakened, and its secrets would soon be revealed. Whatever lay ahead, it would change everything. The war for humanity's future was just beginning.